welcome. A very warm welcome and good morning to one and all. I'm Raj from SG Tech and welcome to our CXO in Conversation series, where in today's installment, we focus on the role of technology in the future of manufacturing. SG Tech represents the tech industry in Singapore. This CXO in Conversation series is part of SG Tech's industry outreach, aiming to connect senior policymakers like Minister today and industry leaders through thought leadership and in-depth conversation. The manufacturing landscape is constantly evolving and highly competitive. Manufacturers need to stay on top of the latest industry trends and innovate continuously to be ahead of the game. In this session today, we are fortunate to have our guest of honor, Mr. Gan Kim Yong, Minister for Trade and Industry, to share his perspectives on the future of manufacturing. And we also have an esteemed panel of industry leaders to provide insights into the future of manufacturing and how the industry can work together to strengthen and uplift capability to compete internationally. Today, you will discover better ways to collaborate, automate, and innovate. We also like to thank our partner, Autodesk, and the supporting organization, Constella, ITAB, Singapore Industrial Automation Association, Singapore Manufacturing Federation, Singapore Polytechnic, and the Singapore Precision Engineering and Technology Association for making this event possible today. Before we start the session proper, allow us to share some functions of this webinar. We are making a recording of this webinar and it will be available for you on demand one day after this session. There will also be a live Q&A after the panel discussion, and you may use the Zoom Q&A function and post your questions. Please help us to indicate your name and company name, of course, when submitting the questions. So without further ado, let's move to the first part of the program. First on the list of speakers today, we have our very own SG Tech counselor, Ms. Serene Sia, to give her opening address and introduction. Serene is Autodesk Managing Director for ASEAN, responsible for driving Autodesk business strategy and market expansion across sales channels and accelerating subscriber growth for the company's extensive portfolio of 3D design solutions. Serene has over 25 years of sales and leadership experience in the software industry across the Asia-Pacific region. And as a female leader in the tech sector, Serene is regularly invited to speak and champion for women in tech. Serene was also selected for Singapore's top 100 women in tech in 2020, an award which recognizes and celebrates inspiring women like Serene who have made significant contributions to the tech industry. Serene, please take it away.
Thank you, Raj. Good morning, everybody. I hope all of you can hear me loud and clear. A very warm welcome and thank you, Minister Gan, for gracing today's CXO event, a special webinar by SG Tech in partnership with Autodesk. Also special thanks also to our participants from the Manufacturing Alliance Transformation Office, including the Singapore Manufacturing Federation, Singapore Precision Engineering and Technology Associations, and Singapore Industrial Automation Associations. Thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules for this event. It is my real pleasure to be here hosting today's dialogue. Before we begin, let me give you a brief overview of SG Tech. SG Tech is a trade association set up to represent and champion the interests of tech industry in Singapore. In a rapidly evolving technology landscape, SG Tech strives to create an ecosystem that anticipates trends and develop sustainable initiatives to strengthen and grow the industry. The CXO in Conversation webinar series aims to create a platform to continually engage the government and the industry by exchanging business insights, challenges, and how SG Tech can play a stellar role in helping businesses transform. Today, we will be focusing on discussion on the role of technology in the future of Singapore's manufacturing sector, something really important to our economy and to Singapore. And you may know, Improvements in export and domestic demand are also driving growth in Southeast Asia's manufacturing sector. In Singapore, our manufacturing output increased 11.2% year-on-year in August 2021. Almost every cluster saw output growth. However, labor costs remains a challenge for Singapore. With our labor costs one of the highest in the region, technology adoption and digital transformation can help address the challenges in this sector to drive positive business outcome for SMEs and help the sector stay ahead of the competition. Now, we have talked about positive impact of technology on manufacturing for years. Not only does technology enhance operational efficiency across the sector, but it also helps improve collaboration, both among employees and stakeholders along the supply chain. With remote work becoming the norm, operation can carry on unhindered. But the one benefit that I want to emphasize is sustainability. Globally, manufacturing contributes to one third of global greenhouse gas emissions, more than the energy or transportation sectors. It is sometimes difficult to link technology to sustainability, but that is because so much of it happens under the hood. For example, IoT sensors can monitor carbon emission throughout the manufacturing process. Advanced treatment processes allow products and material to be reused or upcycled in a circular manufacturing process, and the list goes on. Sustainability cannot be a footnote in this sector. Integrating it as part of the overall business strategy helps companies save costs, reduce wastage, and improve efficiency. So for Singapore, our manufacturing sector is in a relatively good place. Why I say so? In fact, it is the top contributor to our GDP. Research also shows we were one of the most prepared countries in the APEC with regards to automation. To help further drive technology adoption in the industry, we have made two key developments within SG Tech. The first is a 3-year transformation of our associations. Today, what we call a tech company is not just those that bring about disruption. The term also refers to companies that leverage technology for greater competitive advantage. To better serve such companies, SG Tech will pivot to becoming a broad-based trade association, serving all companies on a technology adoption journey. This transformation will also see SG Tech pivot to cover new growth areas to better position Singapore as a global node for digital and data built upon digital trust. We will also rally the industry on sustainability in support of Singapore Green Plan. Second, we need to ensure companies are well positioned for growth as we re-engage with the world. SG Tech has been engaging companies in dialogue to make recommendations to the government for budget 2022. For instance, a key challenge that we have discovered is the shortage of tech talent. With the recent recommendation of NTUC and SNDF to review the employment path, and we will be submitting our own recommendation on this soon. So our manufacturing sector continues to transform digitally. Technology can help companies make informed decisions and realize their sustainability goals. With the right approach, we can collectively contribute to Singapore's zero waste vision and reap the positive returns of sustainable waste and resource management. So coming back to today's event, joining me to discuss the role of technology in the future of manufacturing sector today is an esteemed panel of guests. As highlighted by Raj earlier on, including our Trade and Industry Minister, Minister Gan. So I look forward to an insightful and engaging session with all of you today. Thank you. Over to you, Raj.
Thank you so much, Serene. It's always a treat to hear your thoughts. Next, we have our guest of honor, Minister of Trade and Industry, Mr. Gan Kim Yong. And despite most of us knowing him as Minister, before his political career, Minister was actually the President and CEO of Net Steel. So he definitely knows a thing or two about manufacturing, in fact, more than that. And it will be interesting to hear from Minister's experience and insight in manufacturing. So without further ado, Minister, please.
Thank you. Ms. Serene Sia, Councillor of SG Tech, leaders of trade association and chambers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. It is my great pleasure to join you here today at SG Tech's CXO in Conversation series. The topic of today's conversation is very important. The government first outlined our strategic vision for the manufacturing sector to embrace Industry 4.0 in the Committee of Future Economy Report 2017. We knew that such a transition was critical in future-proofing Singapore's manufacturing sector and our relevance to the global economy. COVID-19 came as an unexpectedly early litmus test of our strategy. Businesses had to intensify the ongoing transition to Industry 4.0, adapt to uncertainty, and adopt new technologies to overcome operational constraints created by the pandemic. While we are not out of the woods yet, and there are now new challenges like supply chain disruptions to deal with, I'm glad to see that the manufacturing sector remained resilient throughout the pandemic and delivered stellar growth last year. In fact, the manufacturing sector registered the strongest growth among all sectors last year and continues to deliver strong growth even this year. This is due in large part to the tremendous efforts made by manufacturers who used the disruption created by COVID-19 as an opportunity to question their assumptions, improve their operations, and strengthen their foundations. Some of the initiatives that manufacturers embarked on include cross-training existing workers to nimbly transit between different roles, doubling down on the digitalization of business operations from warehousing to invoicing, and automating production lines to cope with the fluctuations in demand during the pandemic. SG Tech has been on the front lines supporting this transition. Last October, SG Tech, with the support from Facebook and Enterprise Singapore, launched the Stronger Together Aiding Recovery Fund, or STAR Fund, to help businesses leverage technology to transform and prepare for the post-COVID economy. Recognizing the importance and timeliness of such initiatives, ESG committed to matching 50% of the funds raised by SG Tech. The fund has supported 48 projects thus far, helping the wider business community digitalize while enabling ICT players acquire new SME customers. I'm happy to share that application to the STAR Fund is still open, and I urge companies to tap on this opportunity to further their digitalization journey. While COVID-19 can be disruptive to businesses trying to start or scale their Industry 4.0 transformation journey, we hope that the manufacturing sector will stay the course and relentlessly pursue Industry 4.0 tools and initiatives. I'm happy to note that SG Tech is actively collaborating with industry trade associations under the Manufacturing Alliance Transformation Office to encourage a culture of peer learning amongst manufacturers and help companies along their transformation journey. Other initiatives include the upcoming Industrial Transformation Asia Pacific, or ITAP 2021, taking place next month, which will feature over 100 Industry 4.0 solutions providers from over 50 countries. ITAP's signature peer-targeted activities, such as the Industry 4.0 Experiential Zone, digital sandboxes, and one-on-one business matching, will offer many opportunities for participants to connect, discover, and showcase innovative and practical solutions. Initiatives like these bring us one step closer to our vision for Singapore to become a global business, innovation, and talent hub for advanced manufacturing. Our Manufacturing 2030 ambition is for Singapore to accelerate towards high-value manufacturing in a world where competition is no longer based purely on cost, but also on important intangibles, such as the ability to protect intellectual property, skills of the workforce, and the stability and reliability of the business environment. As we move towards a post-COVID future, Singapore remains committed to supporting advanced manufacturing through a pipeline of initiatives, be it physical infrastructure, talent, or financial support. For example, we are building Jurong Innovation District as Asia's leading node for advanced manufacturing and as a one-stop hub where manufacturers can congregate to ideate, innovate, and create. By co-locating different parts of the manufacturing process within the same innovation space, GID will enable the speedy development as well as deployment of new technologies. This will help our companies shorten the time to market of their products. For our Manufacturing 2030 vision to succeed, we also need to ensure that we have a skilled, future-ready workforce to fill the good jobs created in this industry. Here, the government has supported the creation of the Advanced Manufacturing Training Academy, an industry-led national program to strengthen the competitiveness of Singapore's manufacturing workforce. AMTA seeks to facilitate the constant upskilling and reskilling of our workforce, equipping them with the ability to make the most out of Industry 4.0. Last but definitely not least is our financial commitment to facilitate the transition to Industry 4.0. We have a range of incentives to encourage our companies to make this transition. The government has also set aside $25 billion for the RIE 2025 plan over the next 5 years across sectors, including manufacturing, trade, and connectivity. Our hope is that these investments will advance the development and translation of frontier technologies for manufacturing, such as artificial intelligence and high-performance computing. More importantly, staying committed to R&D and innovation will allow us to establish niches in the manufacturing value chain, strengthen Singapore's competitiveness, and capture new growth opportunities. I would like to thank businesses for your commitment to embracing Industry 4.0 despite the pandemic. I would also like to reaffirm the support that the government has for this endeavor. We are on the right track, but we have not arrived at our destination yet. So let us push ahead and realize our vision together. I wish everyone a fruitful discussion ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Gan. Thank you for sharing some of these exciting initiatives. I'm sure our manufacturing sector stands to benefit tremendously from many of them. And I would like to take this time to introduce our esteemed panel for the day. They are very, very senior and experienced individuals, and you probably think that many of them do not need any introduction. So I will probably just, let me start by inviting our panel to do a quick self-introductions. They are probably under 1 minute per person. So let me invite first Mr. Douglas Fu, the president of SMS. Douglas, over to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Serene. Good morning, Minister. Morning, fellow panelists. My name is Douglas. I'm representing Singapore Manufacturing Federation. We have been around for 89 years, supporting the whole journey of manufacturing in Singapore. And indeed, I'm very glad to be here with all of you today, and look forward to sharing and learning from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. Next, let me move to Terence Steele, President of SIAA.
Thank you, Serene. Good morning to Minister. Thank you, everyone, for spending your time today for this CXO talk. SIAA has been a Singapore Industrial Automation Association for 39 years. Still a long way to catch up with SMF, but we do work very closely. So I've been leading SIAA, and we are glad that we actually currently work together under the Manufacturing Alliance Transformation Office, with SMF leading the initiative, with SIA, SG Tech, and Specta working together so that we can actually help our SME companies transform. And basically, SIA has also launched our Air Hub, which is actually a platform for SME owners or any manufacturers who wish to actually source for solutions. You can actually get a lot of insights and use case sharings, be it Industrial 4.0 or digitalization from our Air Hub. So thank you all, and let's have a great session today in terms of the discussion. Thank you, Serene.
Okay, good. Thank you, Terence. Let me move to the third person, Mr. Stephen Koh, Executive Director of Specta Singapore Precision Engineering and Technology Association, Specta. Yes, over to you, Stephen. Are you there?
Stephen, you're on mute, Stephen.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. My name is Stephen Koh, the Executive Director of Specta. Before my retirement, I was Deputy CEO of Armstrong, a listed PE company, which I worked for 17 years. And before my 25 years as a banker, my community service, including advisor to IRAS, IRAS, ESG, and also president of a Korea Singaporean club. So I come on board after my retirement 5 years ago. So I have transformed Specta to from a tooling association, now is a technology association. So we collaborate very closely with the government, ESG, and then all our folks here, SIAA, okay, SMF, SPF. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. I know who to look for when I'm looking for retirement role as well to make an impact in the world. All right, last but not least, Ruding, Director of Delphic Manufacturing Solution and also the Chairman of Specta Gen 2.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending this seminar so early in the morning. So I have the privilege of leading a group of Gen 2 entrepreneurs in the precision engineering sector, and in this we discuss and we share experiences together. So I myself, I run a precision engineering company, and we deal in 5 areas: precision tooling, CNC machine tools, factory automation, sheet metal, and additive manufacturing. I'm glad to share my views today on what I think about the various topics that are going to be covered, and I look forward to a meaningful discussion. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ruding. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of wisdom that we can extract through the conversation with our panelists here. I'm actually quite excited to jump in and get things going. Yeah, and I encourage all of you to ask questions. We will do our very best to answer as many as we can in the time that we have. Yeah. So I want to begin the discussion today with competitiveness. Every manufacturer wants to grow their business and expand into new markets with great products. We typically do that in 2 ways: sell more of the same products or try to reduce our production costs. However, these are not feasible in the long term or in a high-cost countries like Singapore, especially if we want to stay ahead of our competition, like what Minister Gan alluded to just now. So as part of the government's Manufacturing 2030 plans, the former Trade and Industry Minister Chan Chun Sing said, for the sector to grow by 50% in the next 10 years, we need to shift from manufacturing to advanced manufacturing. I take Germany as an example. Like Singapore, Germany has high labor costs. Everything designed and produced in Germany is subsequently more expensive. To counter this, the German manufacturing sector decided years ago to rely on innovation to differentiate itself, leveraging digital tools to improve quality and productivity. And this helps it stay ahead of competition effectively. So here is my first question for Ruding to kick things off for us. With high labor costs and shortage of skilled labor in Singapore, how should manufacturers here differentiate themselves and stay ahead of competition? Ruding.
Thank you, Serene, for the question. I think it's a very important question, and I'm sure that, you know, as the leaders of our own companies, people have been asking this question. So I think it's being in Specta Gen 2, we have many conversations around this topic. How, you know, what exactly is the way ahead? And I think that Singapore right now, a lot of companies in Singapore, especially in the manufacturing space, are in a transition period right now. A lot of our people in senior positions are graying, and these are the people who have these deep skills. And I'm going to give a very contrarian thought from the topics that are being covered today. I think that we need to get back to the core of engineering. We cannot let these deep skills be retired, so to speak. We need to develop these new skills or these deep skills in the new generation of engineers, of craftsmen. And a lot of these, if these skills are gone, then no matter how much automation, no matter how much digitalization that we try to put in place, it is not enough. So that's my first thought. You know, you really need to get back to the core of engineering, right? The second one is about being the best at something. So I think that, you know, Serene, you brought up the example of Germany. And Germany is very, very good at a lot of niche areas. So, you know, my question is, are you the best at what you do right now? And I think that this is important to answer. If you're not the best, you should head towards the direction to really, you know, be the best at something, whether it's a product or process. So, you know, it's I think that in Singapore, we also have this a very, very unique advantage in that our government is so supportive of our industry. I don't see that anywhere else in the world, where our government will really come down to the ground, understand the problems, and come up with a lot of initiatives to support the companies. So I guess my last point is that if you're not making use of, you know, all the help that's given by our ministers, our government agencies, please take the time and go and understand it, because nowhere else in the world will you get this. Yes, that's my thoughts. Thank you. Back to you, Sari.
Okay, thank you, Ruding. Well said. And I like it, that 3 point, get back to the core, being the best, and leverage the support from the government as much as you could. Now, with that, I also would like to ask Douglas, what is your thought? Anything to add?
Thanks, Serene. SMF has been strategizing and formulating various initiatives to assist towards the goal of Manufacturing Vision 2030. Because like what you have mentioned, how Singapore will evolve going forward. For Singapore, manufacturing is particularly challenging as we have limited land and labor, the two critical foundations for manufacturing. Hence, we have thought out of the box how to collaborate with partners to overcome these two challenges. Firstly, we actually identified grooming future talents as very important. Several years ago, we started and continue to start conversations on the future of manufacturing with the students of ITE and IHLs to let them think and discuss of manufacturing so that they can be interested to consider jobs in the manufacturing when they graduate. What do students imagine the future of manufacturing should be, like as they will be the drivers of the future of manufacturing? Because we can sit here and all discuss about future of manufacturing, about all the different series, but if the youth of today, people like Ruding, is not going to be interested in manufacturing, then what is the future of that? We also need to explain that the traditional notion of manufacturing being dirty, no aircon, is non-existing. and that manufacturing can be an interesting creation based on innovative thinking and imagination of students with high-tech features like what the students seen in many famous scientific movies, superheroes, heroines, robots, AI, etc. SMF is also working on that to continue to work with our partners in the industry and IHLs on 3D printing and innovations to get the message across to these students to excite them on manufacturing. We are also actively grooming the students of IHLs through our global talent program to place interns in the manufacturing companies. In fact, with 1 or 2 polys, SMF is working with them on what we can as transformative leadership program for the students, where we can identify core group of SMEs to bring in the students, to let the students take a leadership position in a sandbox manner to create new ideas and innovations and help to chart the future of manufacturing for the companies. And certainly MATO, a Manufacturing Alliance Transformation Office, could be a possibility to work on this. We're also beefing up the training, reskilling, digital and upgrading programs to train the future manpower. So the manpower, and especially the youth talent pool, the pipeline, is very important going forward to address the issue of how going forward, Singapore should not be looking at the low-cost manufacturing, but how can we take advantage of those high value. But in order to take advantage of those high value, we need the talent pool. We also continue to work with partners, including industrial parks overseas, to create the Singapore brand of operation environment for the manufacturing companies to leverage upon when they go overseas to set up. For the production in Singapore, we continue to connect and with the R&D in advanced manufacturing to create, innovate, and continue to source for technologies. So overall, to answer the question earlier on how we can actually solve that problem of the labor crunch, first of all, we don't have that many to begin with. And that's why I'm very heartened by routing with the Gen 2. And we need many, many more and many, many more routings. Thank you.
Very impressive, very good. Thank you, Douglas. And I think audience will probably agree that there's a lot that we can learn from there. Maybe let me ask Terence. Terence, you have probably would be good to hear your perspective as well, Terence.
Okay, thanks, Serene. From SIA perspective, I mean, we have been working closely with the Enterprise Singapore Standard Division and also SMF STO, the SMF Standard Development Organization. I mean, we have been promoting the use of standard that both ESG and SMF STO has established. So, I mean, SIA had also signed an MOU with OPCUA last year, sometimes in November. I mean, we want to promote the use of OPCUA as one of the unified architectures, whether it's in your product manufacturing process or in your automation process, your IoT or your robotic application. I mean, we know that the shortage of the skilled labor and increase in labor costs. So in order for companies to continue to be competitive and grow their revenue and to sustain their operation, they had no choice. They had to really adopt I 4.0 to initiate digitalization and transformation. So in manufacturing, standards helps organizations develop, manufacture, and supply goods and services in a more efficient, safer, and sustainable way. Manufacturers demand new industrial 4.0 that are cost-effective, safe from cyber attacks, and compatible with existing systems. Standards contains the industry best practices that help business build up their capabilities to develop innovative products and services. This will in turn earn the trust and confidence of their customers, and they are providing solutions that meet their requirement for today and the future. And of course, if you use standards, that will help to improve the branding of your products, the services, so that they can capture new opportunities in the overseas market. I mean, we have seen a great rise in I 4.0 initiative in our local industry in Singapore, especially in the semicon industries right now. I mean, there is an urgent need in terms of, the new norm of having less operators and workers working in a space-constrained manufacturing countries like Singapore. And I mean, we always have a lack of industrial land. So, I mean, this will result with more companies adopting collaborative robots to do pick and place. When process involve heavy mechanization or things that are heavy to carry, so the robots will become very handy. And also in terms of high precision visual inspection and autonomous transportation of the manufactured products within the production shop floor. So we can see that industries needs to be dynamic and modular in terms of their I 4.0 solution, so that the production line can be configured as modular and mobile, and the production methodology can be quickly changed to the need of the manufacturing requirement. So with this, we are really seeing the industries going to I4.0 solutions that are cloud-based, adopting some of the web-based software like platform as a service. Thank you.
Very cool. Thank you, Terence. I love all this conversation, dynamic, modular, Singapore brands, the power of collaboration, fantastic. Now, we all know that we cannot look at the future without considering the present. The global manufacturing sector was showing some worrying signs even before the pandemic became a reality. For example, even though there were about 30,000 products were introduced monthly globally, 70% of them failed to hit profit targets. And the pandemic exacerbates the situation with global skills shortage, as well as skills severe supply chain disruptions. For example, last year, if you all remember, 75% of jobs in the local manufacturing sector offered to Singaporean workers were unfilled. However, with every adversity comes opportunity. And one such opportunity is digitalization. So here's my second question. I want to circle back to Douglas again. Did the pandemic accelerate the need for digital transformation in Singapore's manufacturing sector? If so, in what ways? Douglas?
Yes, just to follow up, thanks, Florin. Just to follow up on what you have actually mentioned, before the pandemic, there was a globalization and deglobalization, follow on with the transformation on the digital journey. So the pandemic just threw into the what we call a perfect storm. But it actually has got certain, there are always two sides to the coin, the good part and the bad part. Of course, the pandemic has got all these things that's happening now. But the good part is before the pandemic, there was that Newton's second law of motion where there's a lot of inertia where people are just taking their time to move onto that digital journey. So the pandemic has really highlighted the importance of digitalization and everybody was pushed on to accelerate it. So the simple answer to that is yes, it's actually accelerated. And this is in order to build resilience. So computer and telecommunications equipment industry saw growth in sales of 4% in 2020, according to SingStat. This increase in sales was attributed to high demand for computers and peripheral equipment, with people spending more time at home due to work from home arrangements. Prior to that, there was some push for flexible work arrangements, but the take-up rate was not so high. But during the pandemic, it just shot through, and people was, because of the circumstances, required to be working from home. And they started to understand and start to see that there are benefits on flexible work arrangements. In another survey conducted by Microsoft, 83% of the SMEs in Singapore now have digital transformation strategies in place, with nearly all companies surveyed adopting at least the most basic level of digital technologies such as office productivity tools and web-based email. And certainly some of what Terence has mentioned, some of the cloud-based type of applications as well. The survey also reviewed the top 3 new technology solutions that most companies plan to adopt, which include artificial intelligence, machine learning, business process apps, and big data and advanced analytics. In another survey done by Microsoft IDC, 80% of Singapore business decision makers say innovation is a must, not just good to have. They see the ability to innovate as a vital to performance and resilience, and also the basic survivability. However, manufacturers are still unsure on how to start, especially for the small, medium enterprises. This is why the Manufacturing Alliance Transformation Office is set up and working together with all the partners on the panel here today, is doing good work to create awareness, handhold the manufacturers in their digital transformation. So that this is the good thing that has come out, and we should not waste this momentum, because the Newton's second law of motion says it's difficult to start. So once it starts, let's get it continue rolling and move together the momentum. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you for sharing, Douglas. If COVID still can't help industry to change, what more can we do to encourage the industry to change? Yeah, so as we know, crisis can be viewed as opportunity as well. So to all listen in today, if you are still unsure how to start, I encourage you to think about joining associations like MATO, association like SG Tech. Yeah, we know it has not been easy for the industry. Yeah, so speaking of digital transformation, one piece of technology that has become more popular in the sector are the many 3D CAD tools available. They are good enough for what they do now. So my next question is, are they really good enough for the long haul? How future-proof is this piece of technology? Terence, any thoughts on that?
Thank you, Serene. I mean, these 3D tools have been incredibly helpful in getting products from concept to market. I mean, using the 3D design tools, it really helps to accelerate the speed of product launch and mass production, of course, resulting in improved in time to market, which is very critical in today's competitive marketplace. Isolated 3D engineering tools have also assisted the digitizing of individual point workflow and tasks, especially when design engineers uses this tool to manage their design work and also work with with different partners together. I mean, the next adaptation of this is contract manufacturing services. I mean, it uses and then it digitizes much of the manufacturing process, which allow the process to be more efficient, improving the quality of the end product and reducing costs. I mean, it's a win-win in the manufacturing process, and it's a major reason with smart manufacturing. And this has become more popular. In addition to the isolated 3D engineering tools, the following technologies are part of the innovative approach that can be used separately or in combination with each other to help improve the manufacturing process. I mean, Douglas mentioned machine learning. I mean, there's a lot of repetitive tasks within the manufacturing process. In manufacturing, when creating thousands of identical objects, that means thousands of very similar movement. So machine used to do the heavy lifting of most of these repetitive tasks. However, machine learning can take it a step further, recognize the repetition in data much faster than human, and AI can analyze the factory floor and make recommendations to improve efficiency so that mistakes are reduced and productivity are improved. Next, we have AR and virtual reality. I mean, everybody knows that with COVID-19 changing how we do things, AR and VR have become essential in handling both trainings and repair in the industries. AR allows less skilled workers to repair equipment with the help of a freelance 3D virtual reality rendering specialist. I mean, by following instructions of a professional guided with the AR to help point the way, a less skilled person can now manage repairs without a professional needing to be there physically. And virtual reality can also help to train new workers, both safer and more efficient, by allowing them to experience the training process in a realistic but virtual simulation rather than going on to the shop floor during your training period. Of course, nowadays with additive manufacturing, I mean, this is another significant change in the industry. I mean, the additive manufacturing, which is also known as 3D printing. I mean, the 3D printing design service has been used in rapid prototyping to help create a real physical product without the need for even to run the product. And I mean, this can allow samples to be done to show others, in terms of the products itself. So 3D printing has been used as part of a hybrid manufacturing, adopting a combination of 3D printing combined with traditional manufacturing methods. This will definitely speed up efficiencies and improve productivity. And then we have big data analysis. I mean, in the manufacturing process, it is not just design and manufacture of the product, but also involve individual steps that helps to get it there. So even the best engineering-led efforts are often filled with a certain percentage of error. And I mean, it can be designed in a more efficient way. So big data analysis can help with that, as AI can analyze the process, look for ways the product can be made more efficient, and also giving the people involved a breakdown of the costs involving in the manufacturing, the product risk assessment, and how to grow it further in the enhanced stage. Cloud
Very
computing.
cool.
Yeah, cloud computing. Cloud computing have been gaining popularity, for example, before the product has even been made to the manufacturers. Teams of 3D modeling service frequently use the cloud to work together on product development, simulation, and testing. So the manufacturers uses the cloud to help their manufacturing process more efficient. I mean, of course, one example is Volkswagen. I mean, they has connected its manufacturing plant together through the clouds and uses the combined knowledge of these plants to help improve the efficiency. I'm sure, the CAD application like Autodesk, they do support clouds and so forth in terms of, their capability. So this actually helps the manufacturers a lot. Even for SME companies who wish to go on a further extent, to enhance their manufacturing and outreach to the regional or the global market. And then we have IoT computing. In digitalization and I 4.0 implementation, sensors are attached to equipment for environmental monitoring and also including monitoring the physical robots that is creating the products. These constantly upload the data into a connected network that include every aspect of what the manufacturing process is. This data can be analyzed to look for ways to make it more efficient, especially if a machine goes down or it becomes too hot. It can send out a digital SOS. So this results, is there so that we can actually source for the cause of the problems or the breakdown and help it to be properly repaired. Lastly, digital twin. Of course, digital twin is essentially a virtual copy down to the smallest detail of the manufacturing sites. This digital twin can be used to show how things used to look at the manufacturing over a long period of times. Once most of this practical use of this copy is to try out different scenarios virtually to see what will happen if the condition in the factory change. So in the past, this is not possible at all, but due to the sheer amount of data involved. But with cloud, and also the evolution of data storage, so hence smart manufacturing is now a reality and it can be implemented easily and also less cost. It can be done a more economical way nowadays. Thank you.
Right. Very cool. Very well said, Terence. Thank you so much. So let me summarize what I have heard over the couple of panelists' conversations. So the pandemic, the rise in remote work has also accelerated the need for digital collaboration to connect workflows. Now, we talk about Singapore cannot compete on labor costs. It is important for us to leverage technologies such as AI, machine learning, to automate manual processes. For example, generative design is a form of AI that uses algorithms, use machine learning and the power of cloud that mentioned by Terence Douglas to quickly explore multiple solutions to a design problem. The technology does enable designers and engineers to explore all possible permutations of a solution simply by inputting design goals and parameters into the software. So the designer and engineer can then explore a wider range of design options compared to traditional methods, as well as optimize for materials and also the manufacturing methods, freeing up their resources. And this is where you can save labor costs to focus on innovating. But the other challenge the sector faces in Singapore is this: there is still a high reliance on manual processes, which can lead to errors and have a heavy use of paper-based system or two-dimensional drawings. So technology can definitely help to break down the walls between the engineering, the manufacturing, and the suppliers ecosystem to improve collaboration and reduce errors and inefficiencies. However, digital transformation must be a top-down mandate owned by the management team who see the strong need for an end-to-end collaboration and with buy-in from the people from the ground, from the engineers. So I want to talk about next, I want to bring you to the future. Those were the pandemic, the past. Now I want to talk about the future. Doing good business is certainly very important. However, more and more companies need to move into the business of doing good, right? And sustainability is an important aspect of that. And this is especially so for the manufacturing sector, which contribute a lot to climate change. So my next question then is about sustainability. So Stephen, this one is for you. What are your thoughts on business sustainability and environmental sustainability? Are they mutually exclusive or can they really work together? Over to you, Stephen.
Okay, good question. In fact, you did a very good summary of all the speakers. I like it. Okay, Next is we talk about sustainability. Spectre already have a sustainability team set up some time ago, which Rudin is also a member to it, because the young generation must also understand the importance. In fact, what you have correctly highlighted, all these are come together. You cannot divide them to get the sustainability. You cannot divide them. First thing is business sustainability. Business must be able to sustain. And then after that, the environmental sustainability. Of course, business sustainability is in the fast changing world, of course, challenges in technology disruption, which we talk about, the health, which is the COVID, how do we make sure that we have a safe environment, financial crisis, which I foresee it will be coming very soon, and it already affecting some company, and then food crisis will come in. You know, the many of these giant like Bill Gates, all these are already buying millions of acres of land in USA. They foresee all this kind of thing coming. Now, but this is a separate topic which I don't want to touch. I only want to look at the environmental sustainability. Now, as you rightfully say, many people say, "Wow, environment? Oh, no, we are going. We are not more interested in our sales growth, more interested in our cost saving and all this." But many did not realize actually this one is part of the sustainability. For example, when you say I try to reduce our material usage, you are actually cutting out the resources usage. You are helping the world to reduce these materials. When you want to improve yield, you are cutting the material usage. And then when you say we want to automate and increase productivity, you are cutting the labor cost and conserve resources. In your process, you say, hey, can my heat be regenerated and recycled? Can my parts be, the rejected part be recycled? All you think about in the past is always cost saving, without knowing actually you're helping the environment. So you just put on another cap into it. Yeah. So you just need to align them together. Now, when it comes to delivery, when you deliver using a better form of delivery, that it will actually reduce your consumption of petrol. For example, we have a meeting here today, virtual. So in the past, we have physical meeting, right? So everybody have to travel to a center place. When you travel, do you need to take transport? You need to take transport. When you take transport, you are consuming petrol, right? So these are actually helping. So in the way that blessing in disguise, whatever thing happen, there is always a two side. One side is negative, but can you turn the negative side into the positive? So now our key task is to align the government, entrepreneur, and employees' interests all together into pursuing this sustainability. Now, in the past, of course, we say government has a larger concern with the climate changes, but enterprise and employees' interests are commonly driven by compliance. Oh, we need to comply with the sustainability rule or corporate image enhancement, enhance our corporate, we are corporate citizen. So when it comes to waste management, reduce, reuse, and recycle, pollution control, energy conservation, these are often regarded as good to have, but in fact, you need to have. In fact, all these figures affect the whole supply chain and the operating costs. For example, input, material yield affect costs, process improvement, reduce energy usage, and of course, reduce costs. Output to improve delivery efficiency, reduces petrol, thus of course, logistic costs. So think differently. You were actually inside. So why don't you package it and then say, actually, we are doing sustainability. But in the past, you always say, oh, it is to comply or because my customer require, so you do. In fact, you are doing it for your own good. Okay, so Spectre already, I say, we have a sustainability team to help our member with our so-called 6A methodology, from awareness to advisory, finally to adoption, all this. So contact us if you want to find out more. Thank you.
Very nicely said. Thank you, Stephen. Okay, this question about sustainability also leads straight into the role of technology. Yeah, as you know, technology can enable better business decision making and design sustainable products from the outset. So how can technology adoption help our SME prepare themselves for the future of manufacturing? So this one is for Terence again for this. what is the role of technology in building resilience and for SMEs? How do
Serene,
they
later
prepare?
I will add one point, for to support Rudin. Sorry, I forgot about it.
Yeah, no problem. So let me just continue here. So question for Terence, what is the role of technology in building resilience? And for SMEs, how do they prepare themselves for the future? Where do they start? Terence.
Thank you, Serene. I mean, for the past few years in the manufacturing landscape, I mean, we have seen a higher push on digitalization within the manufacturing shop floor. And business owners are now looking at how they can adopt technology efficiently and use technology to assist them to measure, analyze the production throughput. I mean, to start the transformation and digitalization process, the management needs to understand, in terms of an overview of their machine performance. So we have, some of the solutions like the overall equipment efficiency, OEE. That is one of the methodology that you can actually track your machine efficiency in terms of the start time, downtime, and what is the cause of failures within the machine shop floor. And then, of course, in terms of the sustainability-wise, the energy management is also very important because, if you are able to understand the whole landscape of your manufacturing production shop floor, which is the machine that is drawing a lot of powers, and whether are we able to do some cooling, or is there able to look at ways to basically so-called regulate the operating powers of the cooling towers and all this. So have an understanding of the energy consumption. That also helps a lot of cost saving if you do it properly in terms of using energy a saving kind of process or procedures implemented into your production. And of course, you also need to streamline your manufacturing process to improve the overall productivity. In today's concept, we do see the use of robotic technologies in manufacturing. It's not to replace the workers, but to work alongside the workers to assist them in some of the repetitive tasks that requires the use. Example, in terms of some of the process, like operators are used to look at or do the quality inspection, using their human eyes. So, in today's technology, we are seeing a lot of, very, very high resolution imaging solution using AI to do the vision recognition and the quality assessment. So these are processes that if SME owners or manufacturers can adopt, it definitely help them in terms of the, improving their product quality and at the same time reduce costs. That's the reason why a robotic process does not take away the factory labor, but instead increase the value of the factory worker. We are witnessing this, as there's an increase in demand for digitalization and also for customization and the innovative experience. And these factors, if you do it well, it will actually drive revenue and profit. We are also seeing many companies looking for the next generation automation and collaboration model. Especially in the support of the supply chain transformation and also in improving the customer's experience. So hence, by collaborating with ecosystems partners and automating their efficiency, this will be a key factors for manufacturers to sustain their growth. And the product will emerge into a platform, when it move on, the years of industrialization. So for the transformation process, it is advisable that some of this company carry out in phases. So for those who do not know the know-how, you need to have consultants to advise you. You need a qualified solution providers to provide the solution proposal. And most of the foundation of this is in Industrial 4.0. Is to acquire the data from the machine or the process. That is the beginning and the foundation of I 4.0 implementation as a prerequisite. From there, after the data and the process is streamlined, then you can take further steps to implement it. So moving ahead, you can actually implement the deeper part of the automation, such as applying robotics, transport, and even intelligent material handling process to reach the full potential of your transformation roadmap. Once you can achieve all this, the next step you can actually propagate to introducing AI and machine learning into the whole manufacturing process. So with the implementation of AI, you can do predictive maintenance. Definitely with predictive maintenance, you ensure that the whole business platform is very robust and agile, and this can respond to any crisis before it really happens. Thank you.
Right, very good. I could feel the passion in Terence, and he's almost talking about industries from 4.0 to 5.0. Now, Even if SMEs are very enthusiastic and willing to invest in all robotic, the digitalization, digital transformation, there are often adoption barriers beyond their control. So Ruding, you as a business owner yourself and a Gen 2 inspector, what are some of the biggest barriers to technology and digital tool adoption? And how do we help SMEs overcome these immediate and long-term challenges?
Thank you for the question, Serene. So for the barriers, I mean, there are obviously some barriers that exist, and we see that because there's a lot of companies that have not fully embraced this change yet. And I think, in my point of view, I think there's a bit of a fatigue regarding this 4.0 and automation and digitalization. We hear these terms all the time, and unfortunately, there's a bit of a disconnect in the understanding of exactly what these things mean. So it could be that we are victims of our own success. We keep pushing these messages down, and you gotta digitalize, you gotta automate. And it comes and in my conversations with my peers, we see that a lot of people don't really understand, and they're a bit tired of it now already. So unfortunately, I'm giving another contrarian view of the situation now. So the first thing is that there's so many things. Everything is 4.0. I'll give you an example. My coffee machine at home, right? It's connected to the net. I got an app for it. It's like, wow, lovely. That's 4.0 as well. Everything is 4.0. But what exactly is, what does it mean? What does it mean for me to have my coffee machine linked to my handphone? It means that when I'm lying in bed, when I wake up, the first thing I do is I turn on that app and I make my coffee first while lying in bed. Then I get up, I wash up, I head out, and my coffee is steaming hot waiting for me, right? It saves me 2 minutes of my time. But that 2 minutes, it's like, in the morning, it's a lifetime, right? I go out, I expect to have my coffee waiting for me. So yeah, it's there. So it's the benefit of the technology, of the solution. It's not the coffee machine can connect to the internet. That's not the point. So I guess, bringing it back to the industry, it's you got to go back into what benefits do you want to see. Terence just now mentioned so many technologies, digital twin, condition monitoring, OEE, so many things. But do you really understand what these things are? Do you understand the benefits that you want to see from there? And I think that's the question that leaders need to ask themselves. Not what am I going to implement? It's like what 2 minutes do you want to save from where? Right? And what's important in that? So that's my second point. I think we got to understand it. And the third point, comes back to exactly what you yourself said, Serene. It's about mindset change. And it's very right. It starts at the top. Unfortunately, as I think we have a lot of leaders of the industry tuning in today, this really starts off with you. If you don't push it down, it will not work. But I think I also saw a question in the Q&A. Somebody is asking, a lot of slightly older generation of leaders. It's difficult for them to want to change this and to want to implement. In the end, it's very true. You grew up in a different era. It is, even for myself now, I really don't understand TikTok. I was like, why would people use it? But it's there, right? It's there. So it's a new generation thing. So if I don't understand TikTok and I think that's important to do something like that, it's how are you going to do it? maybe you can get someone else to do it. If you're lucky enough to have a Gen 2 in your organization, well, trust them enough to implement something, to try out something. So I think the third point is it's really about the management. And if you're not comfortable in doing it yourself, the least you can do is really embrace that change, know that it's important, and get and empower someone else to go and do it for you. So yes, that's
Very
my third
good.
point. Thank
I
you.
couldn't agree more. Yeah, changing a mindset is key. Changing coming from the top is key to transforming the industry. If you go to hawker center, you see all the old uncle, auntie already started to use QR code, PayWave, PayLah, every stuff.
Yes.
I think there's a hope, right? But we know preparing for the future is a big task, which is why SMEs may not be able to do it alone. As the saying goes, no man is an island. We need to work together and create an ecosystem that fosters transformation. So before I hand it back to Raj for the next part of the program, I'd like to get advice from Douglas. What would you give to all SME out there who are with us today with regards to how do they build better private-public partnerships? And what support can the government provide to facilitate the closer ties? Douglas.
I wouldn't dare to say give advice, Serene. I'll just share my little thoughts. I think as this whole discussion this morning has been very energetic and very broad as well, shows that the different trade association chambers actually bring onto the table a lot of strength, a lot of enterprise wisdom, and certainly trade association chambers can do a much bigger role in helping enterprises do that. So trade association chambers is really a banding of enterprises with a common vision and a common mission coming together. And that's why even with the motto where the Manufacturing Alliance Transformation Office was set up, it was having different people from different backgrounds like SG Tech, SIIA, SBS, Specta, which brings on the table different strength. And I think SMEs should take advantage of that because the trade associations are working very hard to reach out. And different trade associations actually have their different strength that they bring on the table on this whole journey of I 4.0. As you can see, Clarence, Rudin, Stephen, Serene, yourself, we've actually spoken a lot and very broad. So for the SMEs, I think maybe like what Rudin has mentioned, it can be very confusing. It could be a whole lot of alphabet soup for them. That's why at the trade association chambers, I think that's where certain clarity can be found. And Mato actually stands ready to do that. And in fact, there are also already some grants that is from government, the Enterprise Development Grant, which is getting 80% support all the way to 31st of March next year. So take advantage of that. And that includes innovation and IP creation. And really, IP creation will be the future. Beyond just the data analytics, beyond just how you're going to innovate on your business model, the IP part, the olden days of Singapore where we trade goods and services, physical goods and services within this island, and being able to reach out to the global economy will now shift to trading of IPs within Singapore Island that reaches out to the global economy. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, Douglas. Stephen, any thoughts to add on this?
Okay, I just want to add one more point that to reinforce what Rudin has earlier said. It's very important. Business, the ultimate end goal, which N is actually my acronym. So the key thing is to pursue of excellence. You need to make sure that you are excellent in the area that you are doing. So by doing so, you are developing your own niche, so that you can at the end differentiate yourself from others, above others. So E is for excellent, okay? Pursue of excellence, and then develop a niche. Many companies actually, when I ask them, what is your niche? They say, machining. I say, no, machining is not a niche. Machining, everybody is doing. What's so different are you from others? Are you, you can do certain micron that nobody can do it. can achieve. That is your niche, not machining. Machining, there are 1,001 people in the world can do it. So when you have your niche, definitely to develop your niche, you need to pursue excellent in whatever quality or whatever. So when it comes to the niche, then you can differentiate yourself from your competitor, from others. So E&D is your ending goal. That is the key important things. Huh?
All right.
So, yeah.
Very good. Very good, Stephen. I also need to do my job as a council member. Just to add, we at SG Tech also work very closely with different government agencies as well. So SG Tech, we have a digital transformation chapter that advocates digital transformation and connect to other industry players together. So we are also bringing the whole ecosystem and partners together. All right, with that, let me just, on the time, 10:30, let me hand it back to, so I want to really thank you very much once again, Douglas, Stephen, Terence, Ruding, yeah, for this very active and engaging discussions. It's really very insightful conversations and it's very wonderful. Raj, over to you.
Thank you,
Oh,
Serene.
Raj, one more information. Specta is working with the IMDA ESG to roll out the precision engineering industry digitalization plan. It will be launched during the ITEC.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Stephen, for that info. And let me just to echo Serene's thanks again to all our panelists for the very active and engaging discussion. For a moment, I forgot I was the MC today and I was so absorbed in the discussion until Serene reminded me that she needs to hand it back to me. But yeah, 3 key words personally that I took away from the discussion is number 1, the importance of digitalization, right? Number 2, the importance of sustainability, second keyword, and really the third is the importance of talent. And I think it applies to everyone, no matter what part of manufacturing you're in. So really before the next segment, again, a reminder, stay till the end of the event because I will be announcing a special goodie you can get access to, but only at the end. So the next part of the agenda, we are very privileged to have with us Ms. Rachel Lau, Assistant Director of the Industry and Partnership Team in Singapore Polytechnic, and she will be sharing with us the Company and Workforce Transformation Platform, the CWT. The CWT is a unified platform for Singapore Polytechnic's domain capabilities to help companies, including manufacturers like yourself, transform in a guided, structured, and holistic way through solutioning, implementation, and training. So without further ado, Rachel, over to you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Raj. Good morning, everyone. I can't agree more with Mr. Douglas. He mentioned that the trade association and chambers are offering tremendous enterprise wisdom. And pairing up with all these trade associations and chambers, you realize that the institutions of education are also coming in as part of this advanced manufacturing ecosystem to support the SMEs. So allow me to share with you what are some useful programs that SB has put together to help the SMEs in partnership with all the various trade associations and chambers. Please feel free to ask questions as I share this. In our development of this particular initiative called Company and Workforce Transformation, we realized that a lot of SMEs are very keen on digital transformation. They hear a lot of buzzwords. The larger question is not so much of unwillingness amongst the SMEs, but often they face challenges in terms of where do I begin when it comes to digital transformation, and what should I focus on? As what Rudy mentioned, there are many technologies out there, but which one suits my environment? That's the larger question. And how should I go about doing it if I know that this is the what, say, for example, collaborative robotics is something I want to go into, but how do I get there? Well, I just want to encourage everyone here that when it comes to digital transformation, it is actually not an easy topic. Coming from a technology background, I always share with a lot of SME gays and bosses that there is no one solution that fits all. because the art and science of digital transformation lies in the fact in terms of understanding your work environment, understanding your business strategies, your roadmap plans, and then coming up with a very, very prescriptive way to digitalize. And I really like what Terence said as well. When it comes to digitalization, is a phase-by-phase approach. But it always starts with the mindset and vision of leadership, and it always covers the people and the processes of an organization. And more than that, like what Serene said through her wisdom, nowadays we're talking about workflow integration, which stretches from your suppliers all the way to your customers. So this topic on digital transformation can be very complex. And so what SP did was that when we surveyed the ground and we realized that there are a lot of keenness in the SME landscape to adopt, but what they do need is truly guided, structured, and a very holistic, multifaceted approach in helping them journey towards digital transformation. And we are very happy to share with you that we co-design and develop this whole framework with 11 companies that shared with us their pain points and shared with us what is on the wish list. And I'm happy to share with you that we have come up with a framework to support the SMEs in the manufacturing sector in different ways. So we have programs that help companies look at their business strategy transformation, like what Stephen aptly points out. Sustainability is very much rooted in your business strategy. So we have programs in place to help business leaders, together with their key stakeholders in the organization, identify the business gaps together with our consultants and trainers to understand where they are right now, where do they want to go in terms of business aspirations. And with the gaps identified, the leaders of the organization then stands collected and focused. Then the next thing is, would you like to build a business growth plan? Would you like to build a technology roadmap plan? That's where SP can come in to support you. The other programs that we have is to help businesses in terms of process improvement. What you see, you hear from Serene is, is that businesses have what we call standalone processes. And we need to look at the standalone processes and now say that it's not good enough. We need to integrate the processes within my organization so that I can optimize the performance in terms of data intelligence to make decisions. Terence pointed out that if you can collect data on your OEE, that is powerful because you are monitoring the effectiveness of your machine, and from there you make certain decisions. Data intelligence gives us a lot of power in terms of making key business decisions that are critical. And you can never achieve that if your processes are not integrated. So there is a lot of wisdom, art and science in terms of how to integrate the processes, which processes to automate. So if you are looking at figuring out how to do that, again, SP programs are here to support you. Next, we also have technology adoption programs where we come into your business environment and we study your environment and to recommend to you what could be some of the technologies that will give you the mileage. Oftentimes, it is not a lack of receptiveness on the part of the business in wanting to adopt tech, but not knowing which technology is suitable. Very happy to share with you that SP works with a very large group of alliance of technology partners like Autodesk, that is a best-in-class technology partner, and also different trade association and chambers like SG Tech and SIAA that has a great pool of technology solution providers. But the art and science lies in which technology is suitable for environment. So this is where again, SP from an education institution where we are not commercial in nature can come in with our domain expertise to help you study your work environment and recommend in a very neutral way. And more than that, we also help companies to apply for grants. As what Rudy and Douglas said, our government has put in place so many different types of funding, and they are waiting for you to apply for them. truly, when it comes to transformation, we cannot negate the human capital assets. A lot of times, businesses confuse themselves by looking at just technology when it comes to digital transformation. And I, always try to demystify that, because the technology adoption, actually, to be honest, sometimes is just one part. It's really just one dimension. The other dimension is really your human capital assets. In any transformation, the human capital asset is at the core. They need to have buy-in. They need to understand why you want to make this change, because they are ultimately the ones that will sustain and drive the change within the organization. So when SP looks at transformation, we look at it holistically. So we also have our workforce transformation programs that help companies in terms of HR process improvement, like what Douglas said, talent development, talent attraction, talent management. We have job redesign. Oftentimes, certain job roles are affected by technology. How do you enhance and redesign them to make sure that your company gets an optimized contribution from that job role? And how about looking at your workforce and say that, how can I approach training in a more directed way? We have training needs analysis in place to support you. Now, you may ask now, so how does SP operationalize all these programs? We call it project-based training, and you may ask, what does this term mean? And I always explain in a simple equation to the company that project-based training is equivalent to consultancy and training. In the past, we do a lot of consultancy as well, but we noticed that if we can couple consultancy with training, it is very powerful, because what happens is the consultant comes in, he is going to do the solution implementation for you anyway. But that solution implementation itself can be a very interesting live project for him to also empower your employees with some essential skills. So that your people who are the agents of change in your company, be it your IT specialists, your I4.0 specialists, or your human resource managers, these agents of change are now empowered with some essential skills to help your company sustain the transformation. So this very powerful combination of consultancy and training is the methodology that SP embraces to help companies. Now, you may ask, so how much does it cost, Rachel? I can share with you that these programs are heavily funded by Skills Future Singapore. So a typical process improvement program will cost starting from 3,990. You will get the solution done for you, but at the same time, you will also have 3 learners in your organization learning from a consultant who is skillful as he performs the work. There is always no better way to learn, but to learn from, I truly think, is to learn from a skillful person who is doing the work itself. And a live learning is always a very real type of learning and authentic learning. That you will find that your agents of change, be it your I4.0 specialists, your engineers, or your managers who are supposed to usher in change, when they learn from a skillful consultant in the process, they will actually benefit a lot. So if you're interested in this program, we are very happy to share with you that you can actually sign up for a complimentary clinic session. Again, I want to qualify that SP is really here to help the SMEs. So we do provide what we call complimentary clinic sessions that are performed by our skilled consultants and trainers. They would like to go into your company to understand your business needs, your operational challenges first to hear. Now, if you would like to have this complimentary clinic session performed for you, we are now giving a special preferential treatment for the first 30 companies that sign up for this session. So please take note of this QR code, register your interest, and SP will definitely knock on your door and perform this clinic session. So I'm just going to give you some time to record this QR code. All right. Now, you may ask, okay, Rachel from SP, so can I find out how many manufacturing companies or other companies you have helped through your institution initiative? We are very happy to share with you. We actually started this program, our version 1, about 1.5 years ago, and we have impacted 58 manufacturing and construction companies in terms of helping them in the transformation process. We have since enlarged our programs offerings as we hear a lot of needs and business needs from the SMEs, and we're very happy to share with you today our version 2. So please do sign up for our complimentary clinic session, and we are definitely very zealous to journey with you in this digital transformation endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for your sharing. Indeed, it's a great program to help our manufacturing companies to embark on their business transformation towards something that we've been hearing the whole day, Industry 4.0. And that's really a good segue into our audience Q&A segment. And we are pleased to invite Serene back to moderate the Q&A. And participants, now really is your time. So if you'd like to ask a question, please use the inbuilt Zoom Q&A function and post it in your questions, right? And just a reminder again, please indicate your name and your company when submitting the questions to us, right? Without further ado, Serene, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Raj. Thank you so much, Rachel. I think
You're
for
welcome.
sharing such an important resource, and I'm sure it will come in handy for our SMEs in the manufacturing sector. Right, like what Raj mentioned, we have come to the Q&A segment. I was busy reading through on the screens and all those. And so there's a question. So we may not be able to answer all, so we pick some of the question and we will address it live here. Yeah, I'll pick this first question from J.S. Wong. Talks about that the business landscape had changed tremendously in the last 10 years. One significant trend is on compliance. Companies are required to comply in many areas: ISO, safety, be safe, and now cybersecurity, CSA, and environmental ESG. However, the customer, the buyers, both corporations and government, are going towards the lower cost. How can industry and the industry federation represented here can do together to educate customers and champion that paying more is good for the society, and if they want company to do good? So I'm going to open up this to the panelists, and anyone can jump in to answer this. Shall I get Douglas to address the first one?
Okay, thanks, Serene. Yeah, thanks for the question. Indeed, over the last couple of years, there are many things that have actually shifted in terms of compliance, whether it's workplace safety, whether it's some of the, especially the environment, sustainability, and governance, ESG, has not really kicked in yet. Why would I say that? Because if you are now part of a whole global supply chain pipe into the global manufacturing ecosystem, if you are not complying to that, your suppliers upstream or downstream may not be able to do business with you. So that's a fact. So it's not about how do we then educate the buyers, but because the whole tide is moving towards that, and I think we need to be prepared. Stephen spoke about sustainability. I think that's a very important topic moving forward. It's spoken at the United Nations level, and so it will trickle down to all enterprises sooner or later. And it is important that you start looking at that and using technology as a means to manage that cost that you're talking about. Because at the end of the day, some of these are things that you need to do for your business model going forward. But if you do not have that, you'll be completely out of the whole global manufacturing ecosystem. To maintain in there, you need to be smart enough. I think Terence spoke about smart manufacturing, that's smart enough to use those technology to build those differential type of business model to create a unique space for yourself. And those space will not be there for long term. You need to continue to be agile and continue to innovate going forward as well. Yeah, so these are just my little thoughts. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, very good, Douglas. Anyone? Any additional pointer? If not, I shall move on to the second question, yeah, given the time, interest of time. Now, my second question from ST, right, this is around mindset and skills, right, that which we talked a bit just now. So the question is, how can we balance both short-term business survival and long-term future gains and the proof? And this is actually a question that maybe is good for Ruding. We talk about the mindset. You are on mute,
Sorry.
Ruding.
Yes. So
yeah,
sorry.
Short-term
Yes,
business survival, long-term business gain, and also to do more for a long-term and future in sustainability.
Well, I think as Stephen mentioned during his points, sustainability is more than just, let's try and move towards cleaner energy or something. Anything that eliminates waste is a sustainability by itself. I do think that it is while you try and balance the short-term business survival as well. I think right now, I mentioned it's a transition stage. So, the environment, the landscape of our business is going to change anyway. So it is, even if you prepare for the long term, you are actually trying to take care of the business itself. One thing for sure, if you continue to just stay still in this business climate, it is very, very difficult to survive in the future. So I think one of the things that I myself have been doing is we try and separate the teams. So there's one group that is in charge of the day-to-day, the operational aspects, and there's a little small group which we meet regularly. And, we really focus on the future aspects of it, the digitalization, the improvement projects, and the business strategy. And this small group meets up regularly and, kind of keeps us on our toes. So that's my point.
Very good.
I add one point, okay?
Sure.
Yeah, because I think the quality of the question is very good. So I would like to they say the importance of certificate of business compliance. Compliance is always everywhere. But when you look at so many compliance, it's just like when you have all the crap running across all the floor. You need to catch the bigger one, right? You don't catch everyone. Try not to catch everyone. So when you look at the compliance, if you cannot comply with all, of course, the best is you can comply with all. But if you cannot, then you have to prioritize it. Which one will cost you more money if you are not complying with that? Cost more money not only on penalty, but also what is the cost to operation. But many people always take it negatively. Like I tell you, traffic police trying to catch people for speeding. Everybody is thinking, yeah, traffic police is trying to make more money. No, they are trying to prevent you from meeting accident. So if you're thinking it's wrong, then you will try to avoid it. You have to say, no, they are trying to stop you from speeding so that you won't cause accident to yourself. If you think properly. So you will look at the compliance in that sense. First things, mindset must be correct. Second, if you really cannot comply with all, of course, you will prioritize it. The less cost, the less so-called damages, then you comply to this. Okay, so that is my way of doing things. Okay, look at things. Then how can we balance both short-term business survival versus long-term future gain? First thing I always say, in order for business to survive, you must look at, are you able to survive the long term? You don't look at the future when you cannot survive the long term. I visited many companies. So some of them, they tell me, oh, I want to have this business. I say, do you have money? Do you want to buy? You want to buy a machine? Do you have money? You don't have. Don't have, you better don't buy. Don't take that in business, is not for you. So don't swallow that one and then you die of indigestion, So first thing, you must be able to sustain. There's a big piece of gold. I last time advised my chairman. I said, there's a big piece of gold there, but do you have the stamina to go there? So you'd rather take a small piece of gold here than to take a big so the future gain, yes, it's important, but only when you can survive, then you think of a future goal. If you are very hungry and people offer you, rice, you say, no, I want abalone. Can I wait for abalone? Then you die first. So don't look for abalone when you are dying. Anything that come along can eat first. So short term is the important, but you cannot always think of long term and then forget about short term, or you cannot think about short term and then deal with short term and think about long term. Okay.
Yeah, whatever investment that you put in, whether the time, energy, and the money and the resources is actually sustained today, and it's also building the future. Thank you very much.
I also want to add this. There's just now I've talked about the digital leadership. The purpose of Motto that we have set up with SG Tech and SMF and Specta is actually trying to create a pool of people that we have a digital experience to help SME. So contact Motto because we have a pool of people to advise.
Right, very good. So we left with very little time. I can only go with one question. I know there are two questions. There's more questions out there. Let me pick one last one for a formal response from the panelists. This is from JJ. He talks about there is a lack of digital leadership and management skill in SMEs because digital transformation is new. Example, the manager may not have problem-solving skill to address problems during the adoptions, or the skill needed to guide and supervise the adoption of technology for digitalization. How can this be overcome? Let me open up this to anyone. Terence, you want to just comment on that?
Okay, I'll do a comment on this. So I mean, basically, I do agree with the person who raised this question. I mean, a lot of tauques and bosses, they probably does not have the actual knowledge of how to do it. I think in terms of digitalization, and also a lot of companies, they doesn't have actually a digitalization expert or I 4.0 expert. So it's very important that basically they probably will got to work with. I mean, from the trade association, we are able to offer assistance. For example, from SIA, most of our members are system integrators or solution providers. So basically, in terms of that, we do have, members that are able to advise in terms of how you go about the transformation process. And then, of course, I think Rachel from Singapore Poly CWT side, I think they also offers the training in complementary in supporting the companies to transform. So, I mean, it's very important that you got to, in the beginning, before you carry out any of this, you probably got to do maybe a so-called an OTR, organizational transformation road mapping in terms of how you carry out the approach. Or if you don't really have the time or the resource to do that, you can actually talk to the TAs, and we are here to offer the support. And let's say if let's say the financial burden is too much, of course we can talk to Enterprise Singapore to tap on whether the enterprise development grant or any of the possible grant to help our SME sustain their business. So importantly is management needs to have a positive attitude towards transforming yourself, because if you don't transform, you will not be able to sustain that. There's no way, there's no choice, it's either do or die, And then with COVID-19, I think some of the processes, we can actually look at the low touch economy. It actually also opens up a lot of potentials for product developers, solution developers in terms of the low touch economy. So, from SIA perspective, like I mentioned, we have an Air Hub, which is a portal that helps, SME bosses who wants to transform. We have all the use case, the solutions there. We have a lot of our members showcasing their products, their services, and we also work with IHL like ITE, Singapore Poly in terms of providing the training programs. And then coming on board Motto, if you approach our Motto advisors, we actually have a consortium that's already set up, and the Motto advisors comprise of all the 4 trade associations, SIA, SG Tech, SMF, SPF, and so basically we are ready to help so-called companies to transform with the Motto initiative. And the objective is to help more than 200 companies to transform within the next 3 years. So that's the reason why Motto was set up and spearheaded by Enterprise Singapore after a trip that the association leaders went together with DPM Heng to Switzerland last time, yeah.
All
Thank
right,
you.
very good. Thank you very much. I think we all know Singapore is very unique. We have a lot of support, not just from the government, private sector, IHL, the vendors like Autodesk. We are all here to support. So there were two questions that I thought I'll just quickly address it, then I'm going to combine it together. One is from Kok Leong, that asking, is Singapore Poly providing digital transformation consulting? Or what is SP's business model on this topic? I think Rachel have, she's our Santa Claus today, so she'll give out some clinics, workshops and all those. I think you can reach out to Rachel to follow up on this. Yeah. And the last one that I want to address here from Benson Low, is there any support on the digitalization and training for SME who is updating to 3D Autodesk software to improve productivity and workflow and upskill our staff? And Benson, thank you for being our customer. Absolutely, we can discuss on this. We'll reach out to you to follow up on here. Yeah, we do have a training program. We have a training partner. SP is also our training partner as well. Yeah, we have been in Singapore for, overall, we have been around for coming to 40 years, Singapore coming to 30 years. So we will be definitely here to support you. Now, I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and I know everybody is very busy. With that, I want to come to the end of the webinar, and I would like now to hand the time back to Raj from SG Tech to close the event. Thank you once again to my fellow panelists, and thank you very much for your time. And also thank you everyone that who dialed in today. And I hope that we can speak to you soon. Stay safe, stay healthy, and take care. Back to you, Raj.
Yeah, again, don't log off yet. Budi coming soon. But once again, thank you to all our distinguished speakers. And I will not forget the quip that Stephen made that, in this transformation journey, sometimes we need to take baby steps, eat rice and not Avalon sometimes. With that, again, special thanks to our partner, Autodesk, for contributing to this very, very productive partnership and this event today. So really, thank you, Autodesk. And thank you for our supporting organizations as well, Constella, ITAP, SIAA, SMF, and SPETA, of course. And before I announce on the goodie, we do have one request for all attendees. Before we end, we would like to invite all participants to take this very short poll that's going to come out on your screen now. And this is really useful for us to kind of create more relevant content and improve our sessions in the future. So it's just a quick set of multiple choice that you can click on your screen. And I'll just give you a few seconds to just answer those questions. Yep. Just giving 10 more seconds for everyone to answer the questions before we move forward. Okay, last 5 seconds. Okay, I think we can end the poll in 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Thanks for all the feedback, guys. And really, it's just to reiterate what Rachel from SP was alluding to. The first 30 attendees for today, register your interest for this very, it's a free complimentary clinic by SP. And the QR code is on the screen. So scan it now if you are interested, and I'll give you just 5 seconds to scan it before I announce some of the upcoming events and the goodie, of course. Okay. Without further ado, so announcement time. So we have an upcoming webinar coming up also on manufacturing, and it's it's talking about the factory of the future. So it's coming very soon, 17 November, and here you will gain insights on leveraging technology to transform your business, talking about some success stories from manufacturers, how you can collect and analyze data from advanced sensors. I think Terence spoke about today in his address as well during the panel discussion, performing predictive maintenance, and really increasing the responsiveness to customers through automation. So this is an event that you really shouldn't miss. And the goodie is now, so the announcement is that if you register for this webinar, you will receive, for manufacturers, eligible manufacturers will receive a complimentary membership to SG Tech that allows you access to a lot more content for free or at a much discounted rate. And it's about 1.5 years almost free membership. And the value of it is $2,000, right? This membership to SG Tech. So I think there's a QR code that you should scan to register for this event, and this will qualify you for the complimentary membership. So again, this is the goodie that you've been waiting for some of you. So please scan it now, otherwise the offer is off. So first come, first serve. Again, 5 more seconds to scan.
This
and
is
again,
Abalone, right? This is Abalone.
This is the abalone, not the rice. Okay, without further ado, just one final announcement. And we are really proud to support the upcoming ITAP event that I think the Minister mentioned and a few of our speakers mentioned as well. Coming up towards the end of November, 22nd to 24th. So get your pass today, join your peers from key manufacturing sectors in the region to start, scale, and sustain your business. And if you scan this QR code, you get a 20% discount off the conference pass. So again, just 5 more seconds to kind of take a picture or scan the QR code if you're interested. And with that, lastly, we would like to invite everyone here, please stay connected. At SG Tech, we do events, 2-3 events at least a week. So we are very, very, very active. And the best way to stay in touch and stay updated with all that we do is really follow our LinkedIn account. We are also on Facebook, but the search us on SG Tech and LinkedIn, and we'll be the first search on the search bar. You can scan the QR code. Today's a day for QR codes, it seems. There's a lot of QR codes coming up today. And once again, thank you everyone for attending today. And we really, really hope that we see you again for the next session. Thank you everyone. Thank you again to our speakers, our moderators, and thank you for spending the morning with us. TGIF, happy Friday everyone.
Thank you. Bye everybody. TGIF.
Thank you, everybody. Stay healthy and well. Bye-bye.